on the Google site. So if you want copies of any of these slides or whatever, it's on that Google site. So please get in there and share those with your colleagues or whatever. What I didn't mention before is we are recording every session. And at some point this weekend or next week, we'll get all those videos up on that Google site so you can watch those videos if you missed some things. We didn't advertise that necessarily because it's invaluable to us to have you here so we can get your questions. We can't get the questions when you watch the video. We don't get as much feedback that way. So it's very valuable to have you here to listen to what's going on so you can give us that feedback and ask those questions so we can improve how we do this training. So thank you for being here. Our next presenter, Don Monroe. Wave, Don. There you go. Something else I wanted before I introduce her is every presenter that we have approached me and asked if they could be here. And this is voluntary. They all volunteered. I actually had to turn some people away that wanted to present. I got a few of them to do some articles for us. So again, please read those. So thank you, and give a round of applause for all those folks for doing that for us. We really appreciate it. So Don Monroe is another one of those that approached me, and I met with her. I was very impressed with her knowledge of the Microsoft products. That's what she does. She works for or with Executran.
I'm an independent contractor, and I contract most frequently with Executran.
Okay, so they utilize her genius as well. Her actual business is what Don Monroe Training. And so she's and she worked with Eddie, and I've asked her a bunch of questions over the last few months. So she's been an invaluable source for us to learn more about what Microsoft has to offer. So please welcome Don Monroe, and the floor is hers.
Thank you. Hi, thank you. I am a Microsoft Office specialist, master level, in both 2013 version and 2016 versions, which just means I've taken a lot of exams. But I love Microsoft. I teach all the desktop applications, and I'm happy to be here with you today to share accessibility on Excel and hopefully add a little bit to some of the great presentations we've already seen. So I'm going to kick off and really reviewing just a couple of things you've already been hearing today. So when you are inserting a link from a website, you don't want it to be like that top example, https// You don't want it to read all that. What you want to do is put in very accessible, readable, complete text that your Excel can read for you. And what I'm going to do is switch myself over to Excel and just show you how this actually is going to work, how you put it in. And hey, if you brought a laptop today, open it up, open Excel, try it. In the classes I teach, I do full day long classes on different products, and we work hands-on all day. So that's what I'm used to. So go ahead and jump in there and give it a try if you'd like. And what I've done here is I've already got a website pulled up, and I'll just copy that web link. And then I will jump back over to my Excel. And when I want to put that in, instead of just copy and paste, and if I did paste right now, it would look like that, and a screen reader would read all that. What is much better is if I go and insert a link or hyperlink. Some of the Microsoft programs say hyperlink, and some now are just saying link. But you look for that. It looks like a globe with a little chain on it. And what you want to make sure is that you're on the top option for an existing web page. And I would just type in what I want it to actually say, WSU Tech. And I would also consider adding something called a screen tip. Over on the right, you see a little button, and you can type in there text for that as well. And you'll see it pop up. You'll see on my sample here. And then where I actually paste in the web link is here. at the bottom of that. And OK. And then what it looks like is a live link right there. And when I point at it, you see the screen tip is coming up, WSU Tech. That's all the screen tip is. Okay? That works identical in your other programs as well. It works that way in Word. It works that way in Outlook. It works that way in PowerPoint. Okay? All the same. Insert a hyperlink. Okay, so let's jump back here. And let's talk about colors. Now, I've done the exact same text in Excel. There's the top. You cannot read that at all. I put some yucky yellow text and some light formatting. And sometimes people just accidentally do something like this. So just be careful. Can you read it? There at the bottom, I actually set it up, and that is in a table format, which makes it much easier to read and to manage. You'll see there I've got a header row that's very clear, much easier to manage. But let's go over to Excel for a minute. Back there, I'm on another tab here. And there I have that example. What I wanted to show you is a couple things about color that maybe you're not familiar with. In all your Microsoft products now, you have color themes. The themes are a combination of the color and the font and the effects. And you can actually customize these. And what I have found is I have some the business people, the professionals that come in and are taking my classes. I've had a couple people that are colorblind, and they have found that the color theme is really handy for them because they can pick colors that coordinate without really knowing exactly what they are. When you pick a theme, you'll see that you get different sets of colors, and you can actually customize these. You can make them match the colors of your business. And you can do that yourself. I did find, you see as I go across them, it's picking up whatever theme color I happen to choose. But then when I save this theme, then it becomes part of Microsoft Office. All these themes, the combination of the color and the fonts and the effects. The special effects show up like on a chart, like more of a 3D or puffy or something like that. When I save that theme, I can use that theme in my Word. I can use it in my PowerPoint. I can use it in my Excel. They all work together. And I found when I was doing my slideshow, actually, that when I put in my hyperlinks, they weren't showing up very nice. The text was a really dark blue. So you could come into your colors. You could go to your customized colors, and what it does is it brings you up the theme colors like this. And I can actually go in and change the specific color just on the hyperlinks. And then I can save this color set to reuse whenever that I want to. Okay. Any questions for me so far? All righty. Let's see. I will tell you that this little guy down on the second level of this picture is set up as a table. In Excel, you want to set up your data in these data tables. That makes it easier to work with because you get a whole set of design tools for your table, and this is where it's very easy for you to indicate a header row. In Excel, best practice is to have a one-row header followed immediately by row after row of your data. Some of you may have done this yourself. Do you skip a row? So the header's up here and you skip some space. You want to add space in there. That's not best practice. And when I say best practice, I mean not just for accessibility, but it also helps for when you ramp up your skills and you want to do sorting and filtering and you want to do pivot tables and things like that. Beyond that, best practice is that one row heading. So here's some samples of some poor table design. we mentioned this earlier, Robert mentioned this. He said with the tables in Word, you don't want to have the merged cells or split cells or nest a table in a table. You need to be careful with that when you're working in Excel as well. Keep things as simple as possible. So here in this, with the red text at the top, I've got my address list is merged and centered. Well, it'll probably read that, but the more you do that kind of thing, probably the more issues you're going to run into. You'll see there I shortened some text. I put FST, and then below it in a whole nother cell, I put name. And then I put LST, and then I put name. Your screen reader is going to have a problem with that. It's going to read FST. And then depending on which way you're having it read, it would move over to the next cell, LST, before it came down to name. So best practice would be to have all of that in one cell and complete wording, like I've got down here below in the green. I'll show you. Actually, I showed Eddie how to add those buttons you saw earlier. Let's give them a try in here. So like I said, if I select something in here, and I've already added the speak button and the stop speak. In Excel, you've got a start and a stop speak button. And if I run
FST,
that here.
LST, add, CTY, ST, ZP, name.
Okay, that's going to be very difficult. Your screen reader is going to tell them what row and column and stuff as well. Let's try it with this group down here.
My address list. First name, last name, address, city, state, zip.
Okay, so you get the idea. You just want it to be as clear and concise as possible. Now, if I wanted to use this, I wanted to do this setup here as a table. This is not currently established as a table, and I don't have established what is the header row. I'm just going to copy this bit right here and put it on a new tab for you. If I was setting something up, I would be sure to have those headings nice and clear like that. I would have it set up like this. And then anywhere you click in a table, you can go in and insert table. You can also go from the Home tab. It looks like you're just picking a pretty style for your table. And hey, do you see here it's picked up my theme colors? Everything you do once you've turned on a different color theme, it'll show up everywhere. If you want to change color of text, you get theme colors first. It always brings those up. But they're formatting as a table, and I just pick a style that I like, and then it just verifies the range of the table that I'm doing. There you see it's picked it up, and it's got a checkbox, yes, my table has headers. And I love turning it into a table because then you can do the cool things like filtering and sorting. You get the little drop-down handles. And this is just going to be best practice for everything that you do in Excel. You see there on the table tools, you get a header row checkbox. So you'll have that turned on when you are using a formal table in Excel. Okay. Any questions for me so far? Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh.
Will that cue the screen drop down to the next line?
So when I had like my address list and it went next door and there was nothing, it did go right to the next line, didn't it? Yes. I believe that is true. Okay, so banded rows are the every other color. Here I get like a version of gray every other. If you've ever tried to manually set this up, oh boy, what a task. And then as you add in different things later, you'll notice you'd have to go back and manually fix the formatting. If you're using a formal table, you can just click the checkbox to turn on banded rows or turn off banded rows. It's an on-off switch. They've also got banded columns. If you prefer the reverse, you can every other gray or whatever color you have. It just alternates the color for you. And what I like about that is if I add a row in and I'm using this banded row setup, it automatically adjusts. So I don't have to go manually fix any of that. Any other questions? Back to your question I went over so fast. If you don't want to skip spaces, you want to just as consistently as possible have data filled in and avoid blank rows and because I think just like Robert said earlier, when you hit so many like enter, I think it thinks you're at the end or it's moving on. Would you agree, Robert, in Excel that that's what it's doing? He's nodding a yes there. Okay. Any other comments or questions? All righty. Also, in here, you would have the ability to name your table. If you set it up with your table tools, you have a little spot in there where you can click in and name the table. That would be great for a screen reader to be able to find your table by name. It's also great if you ramp up your skills then and you're going to do pivot tables and stuff later on to have it named. Okay, sheet tabs. Sheet tabs. So at the very bottom of your Excel, I would caution you to use very clear, concise, complete words for your sheet tabs. I see a lot of abbreviating here. I do it. I'm teaching myself now how to make more accessible documents as well, because I'm guilty of some of these things. So that's one of them. I shorten them. Okay. So you see there on the end, I put poor in MEX, poor name example. Okay, so let's talk about some of these graphic elements and let's talk about this big alt text beast. This is a list of some of the visuals that you would run into in an Excel environment. Images, by that I mean pictures. Clip art, which would be the cartoony pictures. Screenshots, you take a picture of one screen and you drop it into Excel, you can do that. If you draw a shape, if you add a chart, if you put in a table like I did, use the table name up there in the properties. The smart art, the pivot charts, audio and video, I'd say those are probably rarer in Excel. You're going to do video and stuff probably more frequently in your PowerPoint, but you could put them in here, and if you do, you should make sure that you are taking care of those in the right way, and I'll get to captioning in a minute. Let's focus on this for a minute. When you have one of these items in here, you need to right-click on it and format, whatever it is. You'll find format in the list, format shape, format picture, whatever it is. And we talked about this. Skip the title. It is outgoing. They're getting rid of that. And just fill in a short, concise, cleanly worded description. Let's look at what it's going to look like. So I teach all these different Office products, and what's been happening to me as I go into the classroom is Office 365 is sending out all its new improvements. Every time I walk in the classroom, it seems like, I'm like, oh, where did that button show up from? So I'm reading online this week as I'm talking to Eddie, and we're trying to figure out what is this decorative checkbox that I'm finding when I'm researching help with the alternate text. And I checked laptops, I checked different machines, computer at home, computer at ExecuTrain. Eddie's checking his, Cliff's checking his. We're all looking for this decorative checkbox. I found it on one machine. It had loaded in at ExecuTrain's office. So I just found it this week. So the new alt text screen is going to look like this on the left. The current looks like on the right. So you'll see there in the left option the mark as decorative. So if you put in a curly Q, swirly, pretty thing, and you don't need a screen reader to read about that, you could mark it as decorative. If you still get the alt text box like I have on the right, what you would do is put in the description, quote, decorative, quote, quote, decorative, end quote. And then that would skip it, is my understanding with the screen readers. I've also heard people put just quote, space quote, but I understand that that doesn't translate as well to the other things like PDFs and HTML. Robert, any thoughts on that? Have you?
Robert, sorry.
Okay.
We like hearing your voice.
Yeah, right. I haven't heard that it doesn't transfer to the other formats, but that's been the best practice in the field for years, is just the quote space quote if it's a decorative image, and the screen readers won't read anything there.
Well, I think we're moving towards a great new option where they've taken out the little title option because they're not using it. So you'll just do the description. And if it is just a decorative element, then you could just click the decorative checkbox. So watch that. What's happening with Office 365 is it's rolling out new things to our accounts. We're getting them randomly. Sometimes you'll open it up and it says, hey, what's new? And then you get to learn that and figure it out to teach that day. Okay, so you'll see too that in the program that I did find it in, I got an alt text button. I don't know if you could see up here at the top, I'll come up here. I added an alt text button. So let me go over and show you a few things with the customizing. Yes, here I'll get there in just a minute. Let me show you these things first. Well, let's just do some alt text. So I've got some examples here. I put in several different visuals. There, if I have just an image, then I can go in and format the picture when I do a right click. And I have to go in the format picture. I move over to the option there. It's the third option, size and properties. And within there, I can get into the alt text and I can add that description. Okay. Same thing on the chart. And this is what I had cautioned Eddie. It would be real easy to right-click on a chart and to actually get a piece of the chart. So when you are going to right-click on a chart and you are looking for that alt text, you actually want to right-click in an empty space on the chart. I was just cautioning, don't click on a piece of the pie. Don't click on a piece of the smart art, like a square in the smart art. So format, let's see. Yes, make sure you're in the chart itself. Format chart area, there, and there's my alt text for the chart. You could see how real easy it would be to right-click on a piece. Okay. Here I've drawn a shape. Again, with a right-click on the shape, you get format shape. You're getting the same options will come up. And again, you keep going to that size and properties, whatever it is, and I've described it here, yellow smiley face. And I don't know how many of you are using SmartArt. This is a sample of a SmartArt. If you're not, you need these in your PowerPoints. They're really cool. Again, I would just be careful where you're clicking. If I right-click on the shape, be careful. I want to right-click. A good practice is to kind of click on the border of it, and there I can get to format the object. And here I'm talking about the actual SmartArt graphic itself as a whole. And here I've just done a screen clipping because I know that's something that y'all will be doing. And again, you can right-click on it and format. I will show you, I'm going to show you here shortly how to add the buttons up top so you can customize your world.
Don, are you going to talk about how the reader reads through Excel? Like if you're just putting these images over the top of the grid there, how does the screen reader go through all of those things? I don't know if you're going to cover that or not.
Yeah, that's interesting. So let me come back to that at the end because I'm going to turn on the narrator and let's just see what it does with our page here. We'll just test it out. So I want to turn on the narrator. Okay. All right, awesome. Now let's just jump back real quick. Jump back here. We're good here. Okay, if you do add audio and video in, I would say that you would want to for sure have closed captioning. So if you are using a YouTube that someone else has created, then be sure you grab one that has the closed captioning already established on it. If you're making your own, I have found it's not really that hard to add in the closed captioning. Apparently it's gotten better through the years. I haven't done closed captioning, but only recently. But here I allowed the YouTube to go ahead and it had generated some text for me, and I just went through to read it and make sure that it matched. I could quickly edit through, and it's been doing a really good job for me, frankly. But I'm curious to learn more about closed captioning today and the different products we can use. But even just dropping it in YouTube and getting an auto-generated English translation, it was working fine. I just edit any words and go from there. Okay. You can also right-click on your insertion of a video or an audio clip and add alternate text to basically title that as well. Okay, so running the accessibility checker, everybody's been talking about that this morning. I would encourage you to add it to your quick access toolbar if you're not finding it on your ribbon, and I'll show you how to do that. And I would encourage you to develop a habit as important as spell check. Before the document leaves you, that you go through this process as well. Let's take a look. Okay, so if I wanted to run the accessibility checker, I would look here in some of the versions. You may be seeing that now on the review tab. If you are not, you would go File, and on the Info tab, you would see Check for Issues, and there's Check Accessibility. Okay. Let me close my alt text box there, focus in on this. So this is the accessibility checker, and it's telling me a few things. Let's go see. Missing alt text, and it's telling me I've got 3 things with a problem. It doesn't like my colors on a table. It's also concerned with the chart, with the chart on the poor name example sheet. You see, I set some up poorly here. There's some poor colored text. Here's a chart with no alt name. Again, I can right-click on it and go format it and go out and see with that alt text, and I just need to add something there. You'll see as I add this, as soon as I add a change, when it's brought up the accessibility checker, I can actually click on those things. It helps me find those pieces, and as I change them, they respond by leaving the accessibility checker area. Okay. Here, it does not like the merged cells that I've done here on this sheet, and if I were to jump back, home is where I find those merging features, and there's where I did a merge and center of those cells, and I could simply unmerge those cells. So as I do things, you see it's leaving the list there. As I'm checking them off, they're leaving. You see there it also doesn't like I added sheet 1 and I haven't given it a name, so I could type in something there, and that goes away. Okay, so as you check them, as you work through them, it will go away. Okay. So let's talk about customizing, because I'm a big believer in customizing your world. A lot of you may not be wanting to memorize a bunch of keystrokes. That can be tough for some of us. I use so many programs, I can only remember so many. And if memorizing all those is not your thing, then I would suggest maybe adding some buttons. I did research trying to find all the different accessibility type tools I could custom add to my toolbar, and this is the list of things that I found. I'm going to show you how to add all of these: checking accessibility, speaking, stop the speak. Once you start it, you sometimes want it off. Then you can have it speak either by column, so it's going down the cells, or by rows. Depending how you want it to read, you can just turn those options on. You also could have just the speak cells. Every time I type something and hit enter, it reads it out to me. And then I have added in the alt text button. So let me just show you customizing. Let's go do that. Back in Excel. So the first thing that I would show you is this little guy up at the top left is the quick access menu. And if you're not using it, you really should take a peek at it. It's got a little drop down, and you can pick it's got popular stuff there. So of course you want things like new and open. If you go all the way down to more commands, when you click that, it gets you into this box. This is the exact same as going file, options. And there's a couple things I'm going to customize there. You've got customize ribbon. I don't know if you know this, you can make your own ribbons, your own tabs. You can make your own set of tools up there. And then you can add things to that little quick access toolbar at the top. So let's just start with the customize ribbon. And let's say I want to find that alt text button. Because even if it wasn't loaded in there, if I don't have the 2016 or the latest and greatest Office 365, the button's in there. I went and found it. So go to all commands if you're following with me here. Another thing I found here is if I click on one of these and then I click the letter that it starts with, it will jump me to that particular one, but you need to click in there first. And there we've got it, accessibility checker. So that is one that I would add to a convenient place on my ribbon right away. So like I want that on the review tab. I didn't see it. I'm going to get in that proofing group, and then I can just quickly add the accessibility. Oh, it wants me to make it in a new group. All right, I'll make it in a new group. New group, I'm going to call it, rename it, accessibility. And I'll go show you, and I'll come back in. So I say okay, And then I put that on the review tab. It adds it out to the end. So there's a button now where I can quickly go check accessibility. So you can add it in the same way to the quick access tools. It's even easier. But once I've got something on my ribbon, I always do a right click and you can add it to your quick access tools. So if you added it to your ribbon like I did, you can just add it like that. And now it shows up so I can easily get it here. I'm going to jump back in and I'll walk through that ribbon process one more time because I'm going to add the alt text. So if I drop that open, I go down to more commands. Again, let's go to customize ribbon and I go to all commands. And the one I want now is that alt text. I want to go look for alt text. There it is. There's an alt text button. What this is going to do is simply open that pane for me quickly. So if I click on a shape, I can click alt text and it's open, ready. So here I'm going to just click that. Just for simplicity, let me just add it into that little accessibility group I just made. So alt text added over there. So now I've got accessibility checker in my alt text button. You could add it anywhere you want. And say OK. And now I've got an alt text button. So if I were to, let's just do something simple. I'll add a shape. Pretend I don't have all this open. So I'm on a shape right there, and I want to get that alt text. Instead of doing the right click, I simply click that button and boom, I'm there. It's even opened the part of that format window that I want. Fast. Okay. Let's add just to the quick access tools now. Again, go up to that little drop down, more commands. And concentrating now on the quick access toolbars, I'm going to add all commands. And then I go shopping for that list of things I gave you. So I've got check accessibility. I'm going to add the alt text. Just a word to the wise. I figured out with that alt text, if I did not add it to the ribbon first, it did not show up in my list of commands on the, if you're still getting the older version. Okay, so I'm adding alt text, and then I want some of these that are speak. So I'm going to click S, and I'm scrolling down. And I've got several for speaking. A lot of S's in there. All right. Okay. So I want speak cells. Okay, yes, I did already add that. Thank you, Microsoft. Speak cells, and I've got stop speaking cells, and then they've got speak cells by columns, speak cells by enter. So I'm adding all of those so that you could try those out if you like them. I just like these to be able to kind of see what I'm doing. Now that I'm hyper aware of accessibility in my documents, I like to be able to just select something and try it out and see how it's reading. And so all those things now should be showing up on your quick access. And so then if you were to select something, and then you could pick, like, how do you want it to read? Like in this case, maybe I want it to read by columns, and then I just hit the
First
speak.
name, Bob, Jane, Cindy Lou.
So when you use those, you've got to speak and you've got to stop. You can adjust it by row or column. And then the speak on enter.
Cells will now be spoken on enter. Excel.
Okay. So just some little goodies out there that I found that you might like to use. Customize your world. Questions for me? Good? Yes.
Transfer
Great question. Does the quick access toolbar transfer to all the programs? So if I customize in my Excel, are those buttons going to show up in my PowerPoint and my Word and my Outlook? No, because you have so many customizable buttons in all the programs, you're going to have to customize each of your environments. You have different tools. Even the Speak acts differently in PowerPoint than it does here in Excel. In PowerPoint, you could click the Speak and click it again, it would turn it off and on and off. In here, it's got a separate one to stop it, so you've got to add the start and the stop of the speech. So they're acting different, so customize each one. Once I've customized it on my laptop, it stays. Once I've customized it at my workstation, it stays. Okay, great question. What else? Okay, I got a couple more things for you. Okay, so ease of access, and you all might not need some of these things, but isn't it great to know where to go to change these? For instance, if I have someone come in my classroom that needs an accommodation that day, I know right where to send them to turn on the magnifier or anything like that. And I'm in the Windows environment here, obviously, but I'll just do the window key and the U, and it pops up into the Ease of Access Center. This gets me into all the different options that are available, and I'm not going to go through everything, but you can magnify and change the color contrast and change how the mouse and different things appear on your computer. Okay, that's in the Windows environment. And then I wanted to turn on the narrator. Now, I can only take so much of it. It drives me a little bonkers. You'll see. So if I do this keystroke, it's the window key with the Control and Enter. This is built into your Windows 10. So if you have Windows 10, you can do this. And this is a great way for you to check how your document is behaving in an accessible environment. So Windows key, Control, Enter. Windows key, Control, Enter. That's not it. Is it coming on? It looks like it's not coming on for me. Doggone it. Okay, so let's do this. Narrator on.
Settings, on, Narrator, toggle switch. Accessible examples.xlsx, Excel window, accessible examples.xlsx.
So it's reading the title of my document up there, and then as I move around.
Table TABLE2, table has 4 rows, 6 columns, 6 column headers, 0 row headers, first name, A1. Quick styles, pane updated, quick styles, pane, TABLE2 selected, Y, space, shift, O, space, B.
No spaces in a table name.
Accessible examples.xl, shift, X, E, enter.
So there, if I've
Table
named
example, table has 4 rows, 6 columns, 6 column headers, 0 row headers, first name, A1.
The first time I clicked on it, it read out table 2 because I had not given it a table yet. When I went back in and I gave it a table name, I called it example, and then it read that when I clicked into it. So it's easy for you to check and see if you're not sure how your document's behaving, to just turn this on and try it out. Okay, what questions do you have for me? Yes.
Can you just show real quick how it would sound? Read the formula?
Grid contains 123, 340, 532. E. End of line. E9. 1000. 1000, E10, contains formula.
Okay. And then I wasn't sure how it's going to read these
Grid
visual
contains
examples.
19 columns and 32 rows.
And Robert, this one you may be able to answer more. If I move to a sheet that has a lot of images in it in Excel, is it going to just
Grid
find them?
contains 19 columns and 32 rows.
Because I put several visuals on this one sheet. Do I actually have to move and click to them for it to recognize those, or does it flow?
Do they have alt text on them already?
They do have alt text.
Okay. It's going to vary from screen reader to screen reader and how they're set up. So it may start reading the page when you move to it.
Okay.
And if so, it'll catch those. Otherwise, if you mouse over those, it should read
Okay.
those.
Okay.
You know if the NVDA reader does it?
Yeah, NVDA and JAWS would both read them. And I believe both of those, when you move to a cell page, will only read the cell you're on until you start moving around. And I figure Narrator works that way too.
Okay.
Yeah, and the NVDA reader is actually a free product. I think it was developed by some folks in Britain. Is that correct, Robert? Australia? I was close. You know, different sides of the planet. But if you just put in NVDA into like Google search, you will find it there, and it's a free download. They do ask for donations if you want to do that, because they do provide this product for free. It's a much more cost-effective reader than trying to go get JAWS, because I think that's pretty expensive, as far as I understand. 2 arms and a couple fingers is what it costs for those. So so look for that NVDA reader. If you put that in your Google search, you'll find that, and please download that. And you can check to see how your products, when you make them accessible, how that reader is going to read through there. So it's a good tool to use.
Let me add a couple of comments based on what others shared this morning that I think may help you in a couple things. When you are in Word, I just want to add a couple things to what...
Search window, search box,
We'll have to
editing.
turn him off.
Selected, Narrator, desktop app. Narrator settings window, press any key on the keyboard to hear the name of that key. Press caps lock plus F1 to review the full set of Narrator commands. Press the tab key to navigate through the options. Press
At the
caps
bottom.
lock and ESC to exit Narrator. Accessible example, jump list for Narrator window,
Yeah.
close window, Narrator settings window,
Perfect.
exiting Narrator.
I had my window control enter, which didn't work. So, okay. I wanted to show in Word real fast here, just if you are going to, okay, where are you? There you go. There you go. If you are in Word and you're making a table, I love what Robert was sharing with you about setting some of those properties on a table. What I might suggest to you is that you maybe make a table, get it just how you want it, and you could save that as a quick table that you could reuse over and over. The way you would do that is to go into the Insert tab, and at the bottom of the table group, there is a quick table option, and you can roll out there and you save that selection to this quick table gallery, and then you could reuse the same table over and over. So if you turned on those settings, because I did go look in the options to see if I could set my default table to not break those rows and things, but it's not in there. So you could customize it in this way and save it. You could also go into the design and you could build a brand new one from scratch, a new table style. And the way you do this one, you name it, and then you build piece by piece exactly how you want it, including the table properties that you could also adjust those checkboxes so it acts the way you want. Then when you want to add in a table that's going to be accessible, you have one ready for you and you can just pick it from your list. The other things I wanted to mention just on Word is in that styles group. These are the styles that he was referencing, and you can see in here that you can pick these different styles. I'll just real quick do a intro, sample, typo, example, more. When you want to apply those things, you just can simply click on them and then click those headings, and that becomes that heading. You can turn in on those styles group, and you can create your own styles, and you can modify whatever you want. That little corner button in styles will turn that pane on, and then you can quickly move around and adjust those as you need to. He mentioned that some were going to be paragraph styles and some were going to be attribute styles. And you can see there on the styles box that I've turned on, some have a paragraph mark and others have a little a, and some have both. Some apply to both things. So that lets you know the difference with those. So the paragraph ones were things like centering and alignment, and the font attributes are showing up with that A, and that's things like your bold and font. Okay. The other thing that I would add is Lisa and I did a little quick research on the PowerPoint there as Eddie was finishing up, and if you hide the title of the PowerPoint slide with the little eyeball, you click the little eyeball and turn the title off, it still is readable by the screen reader. It's also going to be great for you if you are going to move slide to slide during a show, or you want to link to slides. I'll go back to my own just to show you here. Let's see, let me put it back on. If you right-click and you're wanting to jump to a slide, you can actually see those in the list. There's also hang on, I don't usually do this way. In some of the versions, it actually gives you the list by, I think must be in the 2013. You see the list of all the titles there, and you could pick by title. In this version, we're seeing actually the thumbnail of the slide. Okay, any other questions for me? Cliff's ready for me to be done, I see. Okay. And all that's out on the website. When you go to the Google Drive, then you'll find all of that out there. I included all of that. And this is where you can find me if you want to shoot me an email. I'm always happy to help you troubleshoot. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Don, very much. I learned a ton from that presentation. I was looking forward to the Excel piece. So I don't use that as often in the design work that we do, so that was very helpful for me. It's lunchtime. You have about an hour and a half before the next session starts. So if you go down to Rock Row, which is the next street over from the college, there's a whole bunch of restaurants and things there. So if you want greasy food or healthy food, they've got all kinds of stuff over there. So please do that. If you lost a cell phone or left it in the restroom, come see me. I have it in my pocket. Okay. Other than that, thank you, and we'll see you this afternoon.